Hi there, Mike and Adam, the Deep End, June 15th recording, 16th airing, 2023, Father's Day weekend. Adam and I spent a fun couple of days in Cleveland earlier this week at the Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association Conference, which Adam was a part of, a paying member, contributor, and I was not. I glommed on. I'm happy to take the heat for that. We will celebrate Dynasty Week here on the Player Profiler Network tonight. Talk Dynasty, talk through one of our recent startups, and then go position by position. How do the rankings look to us? Maybe some anomalies reside there. Also, the latest with Stefon Diggs in Buffalo. Pretty much the only news of the week, or almost the only news, maybe the biggest news of the week in football, such as it is, right? Mid-June. Mike and Adam, thanks for watching and listening tonight. And we are part of the Player Profiler Network. As I said, welcome to the Deep End.
Glommed on. I've always wanted to glom on. I don't know how long you've been doing that for, but to glom on sounds like a blast.
I feel like I'm an elite level glommer. Glommer honor. But you
I
know,
believe it.
I think you would vouch for me on this. I mean, I can certainly admit that a couple of times I stepped into the social scene at this conference, but I'm very uncomfortable doing that. Like, if I don't have a ticket, I don't want to be seen there. There was one incident on Monday or something that could have been an incident, but no, like, look, it was really fun to be around a lot of guys that I am really happy to have gotten to know in fantasy football through you. And you're a stud. You got the draft in the experts draft. So what's more proof of that?
Yeah, no, that was a blast in the experts draft. I think that was on Sirius XM radio. That was fun. Yeah, right. The experts, air quotes. I know we're having fun. We're having fun with it. But everybody was good in there. Hey, in the draft, we're such experts. We didn't even finish the draft. That's how good we are. It is now a slow draft, 4 hours a pick. I'm at the gym today, trying to burn off the 9,000 drinks I had over the last 3 days, and I get a message like, "Hey, the draft's starting, and you're on the clock." I'm like, "Oh, awesome!" So, but no, that was really.
Was
fun.
the San Francisco defense available?
No, there was the only D not available. We have so many stories. We could do a whole show on the FFSGA, but
we wouldn't want anybody to watch it.
Right. So
that was the car ride home, actually, Adam. That was our show on the conference. Was the car ride home?
Welcome to the car ride home.
that cost extra. That's in our YouTube subscribers only.
That's right.
Then you get to know everything that happened. The 2 a.m. craps game.
Oh,
never play crapless craps. Which I can't even believe is a thing you could actually say in the English language. So in craps, if you start the game and roll a 2, 3, or 12, the game doesn't really start. You just sort of try to start again. Everybody loses their money on the pass line and you just start again. At crapsless craps, I think, is there an S? There are 3 S's?
Crapless craps.
Crapsless craps, the 2, 3, and 12 become points. So I'm not going to try to explain the whole game, but my first 3 rolls, and somehow it didn't go disastrously, were 12, 2, 3. And so I like to play, my strategy that I've always played when playing craps is to put 3 points on the board. So if you have a regular craps table where there's no 2, there's no 3, there's no 12, those are all sort of like resets. 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. 11 is an automatic win, like 7 on the come out roll. I like to play 3 points. Point, money behind the line, on the come. So new point, money behind that. Third come out roll, money behind that. A perfect craps game, you roll a 6, then you roll an 8, then you roll a 5, then you roll a 6, and then you roll, whatever happens on the next come out roll. Too complicated already. So at this table, my points were 12, 2, and 3. And my task was to roll any one of those numbers. I didn't have the courage to put money behind 12, 2, and 3. Like, just what a disaster. But
well, listen, it went just as poorly as when we rolled 6 and 8s. I mean, me and Rich Rebar were throwing 6s and 8s all night, and we couldn't hit the point. It's just, he was telling a story the next day about it, about how we couldn't hit 6 or 8 the point. But anyways, it's Dynasty week, right? So,
I didn't buy any new teams with the money I made playing crapsless craps.
Oh, it's too bad.
Before we get into Dynasty strategy and observations, Stefon Diggs did not participate on Tuesday, the first day of mandatory minicamp in Buffalo. He did not participate in any of the unmandatory minicamp practices either. And Sean McDermott showed up on Wednesday and kind of changed the story about what happened on Tuesday, at least I think, and I think most do. Diggs was on the field Wednesday, and as is customary, the Bills, like many teams, canceled the last day, and I bet they were in a big hurry to get away after the drama of the week. Adam, does this worry you? I mean, also as a Bills fan, but in terms of Diggs and fantasy.
It doesn't worry me fantasy wise because Diggs is going to play. I mean, they're going to play. He's under contract. Why wouldn't he play? I mean, it's not an issue with the money. I think Diggs just loves the attention. I think he's really upset about the way the last 3 seasons have gone, how they haven't advanced as far as he thought they should, how he has been in playoff losses. He's been irrelevant. He's disappeared. I don't know if that's him or Allen or both, or the offense or whatever, but and there's some maybe there's some off-field issues with Josh before the game last year. Who knows? But so fantasy wise, he's going to be there. He's going to play. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I wouldn't move him down. In fact, if he starts falling like you were trying to do over the weekend, get him later. I would definitely be taking him. From a Bills team perspective, it does scare me, like that, like the camaraderie and it's all kind of been kumbaya and perfect for the last 3 years. Everything kind of worked out great, but I think, as most things happen in sports, like some people kind of wear out their welcome or they get frustrated if they're not doing as well. So I wouldn't move him down my rankings yet, but from a team perspective, I am a little bit nervous.
As Adam said, so when this broke on Tuesday, just after noon, I decided I've been wanting to do the 3 puppy drafts, at least 3 at a time, 3 fast drafts. Let me tell you, it was hard. Like, yeah. I've seen other guys talk about doing that, as many as 5. Davis Maddock talks about doing 5, and I'm not man enough for that yet, but 3, and I was always on the ends anyway, so it was like a little bit harder that way, at least in the beginning. But it was a fun challenge, and I'm thinking, like, well, if I sign up for 3 and I get a 107, can I get Diggs at 206? You need, though, and you and I talked about this in the car, like, you need the group to agree to fade him. If there's one guy in there who is not buying it or doesn't even know about it because it's still like an hour old at the most,
right?
News, then he's going where he's going, which is around 108, 109. So in the 3 live underdog puppy drafts, drafts, he went 9, 12, and 9. And I was no beneficiary, but that's fine. And I don't know if that changed either. And he was on the field the next day. So,
yeah. And a lot of that stuff will happen throughout the summer. We'll talk about it and news will happen. And that night, a lot of times we'll hop into a draft that night because we know players are going to be falling. And, Alvin Kamara last year with the suspension that he's probably facing this year, we thought that happened last year and all that type of stuff. And players are dropping and players are rising. So a lot of times if you're smart, you save some of that bankroll to hop into some of those drafts that you think are affected by player news.
I have seen some crazy things over there, but that's typical, depending on how many drafts you do at Underdog. It's Dynasty Night. So recently, I believe on a dare from our friend Hillard at Death Dealers, we had a Dynasty League that came apart after last season, the first season, and he wanted to do another one. So amazingly, we agreed.
Shocker.
Yes.
We agreed. So thank you for getting us into this.
This is the RotoViz, $500 RotoViz Dynasty Startup. And Adam, when you sign up for that, is the first thing you're thinking about, even maybe stressing over, is your draft position?
Yes. And I totally don't care because I do so many drafts. Like for redraft, I really don't care about my draft position unless it's like a 5K or even main events. I do enough of those where I just want to be spread out, honestly, in the main events. But if I do like a 3K or a 5K entry fee, I kind of want to get my guys. So I kind of care more about the draft position. But this too, right? These startup dynasty leagues, like especially in SuperFlex, like every time I'm like, I want one of these top elite quarterbacks. And actually we pulled the 11 spot
Mm-hmm.
and Hillard pulled the 12 and look where we both ended up at the 1 and the 2.
Right.
We got to where we wanted to
First
be.
round reversal, we call that.
Yeah. First round, 1 RR. And so
1 RR.
And so we ended up making a trade to get up into the top 2 there, and so did Hillard. Death Dealers up there. You can find them. Death Dealers and Smoking Aces. I recognize. There's some other teams I recognize in here too. But what was that trade that got us up into the top
Dynasty
2?
Depot, maybe also.
Oh yeah.
So we were at 11, and there was an interesting trade at the 3 or the 4 that we thought was a pretty cheap price. So we offered the 102, 111, 311, 402. And we should compare how we ended up there if you want. For the 102, 602, 711. Would that be right? I think
so
that's right.
We offered 111, 311, 402 for the 102, 611, 702, and a 24 third round pick.
Right. Okay. Right. Good.
So I thought we did very well there, just in terms of the actual trade value.
Mahomes or Allen, and we got Allen.
Exactly. Yeah. And we had decided early on, like, having a co-owner for these is fun and great. And just to be able to talk through every pick. And we decided early on, like, hey, we want one of these elite quarterbacks. So let's get as high as we can get. I had a tier of Mahomes and Allen being a tier. And then there was the next tier, and you can kind of put all those quarterbacks in a hat. But I would have been fine with any one of the next 5 QBs if we had to get up to that point. But I really thought that the deal we made to get up to 102 was a really good deal. And I love Josh Allen.
Well, even in dynasty startups, you still see some stacking. I think the team that picked Burrow at 3rd ended up picking Chase at 9. And, if you're eating right and getting your exercise, and things go well in the world, you think you might have this team for 10 to 15 years. Yep. And if you're into the Burrow and Chase idea, there's some other similar stacks in the NFL. You might have those guys for a long time. The Bengals are probably the quintessential example of that, with as young as Chase is and as Burrow is, Allen and Diggs. Diggs is older. Mahomes and Kelsey. Kelsey's much older, Jackson and Andrews. So if you click on any of our picks, Adam, it will be highlighted who we took.
What do you mean?
There, like that.
Oh, wow.
Is that new to you?
That's so new. That is new to me live in the deep end.
Oh, baby, the deep end.
That is fantastic.
Guess who just arrived in the deep end?
Can we do it for everybody? Oh, my God.
Everybody.
What is going on here?
So we ended up.
Well done, FFPC.
Allen Watson, that's pick 14, 202, decided that 2 quarterbacks in, get it out of the way. You can only pick 3 in dynasty startups at FFPC. Get 2 in, and it might have been our very last pick where we picked our 3rd. I think Ryan Tannehill. And you have to decide, Adam, right? Like, do we have more of a win now team? I tend to try to play both ends in these drafts, which can get me beat. How do you decide as you get into one of these dynasty startups which direction you want to go, or can you kind of go both ways?
So I think what we did was I think that's the hardest thing to do, I think. But at the most success, like if you can pull it off, you're in great shape. Is to kind of be young, but be good right now. But that's obviously the hardest thing to do. I am never in below the first year, not care, because I know a lot of teams, a lot of really good dynasty players do that sometimes. Like, hey, I'm just going to trade everything away and just play for year 2, year 3, year 4. I'm never in that mode. I would lean definitely more towards the win now mode. But what I like that we decided to do, and what we think we did, was to get in win up to be long term with the positions that I think are the most valuable in this format. So it being SuperFlex, I think quarterback and tight end premium tight end position, to be good at those now and for the long term, I think was very important for us. And you'll notice that the 4 out of our first 5 picks were those positions. And we also took guys that are young, guys that are going to be good for a while. at those positions because too, you can't get those. And you've brought this up since maybe one of the earliest Deep End Dynasty episodes was in Superflex and tight end premium, you cannot trade for quarterbacks and elite tight ends. Like you just can't get them, or you have to give up everything to get them. So we wanted to get those positions and those players locked up so that if we need to make trades later for running backs or receivers, they're much easier to get and to acquire if we need to. And what you haven't mentioned yet either is we have like what, 2 firsts, 2 seconds next year too? Something to that effect?
Yes. 2 firsts and 2 thirds, at least the third from that first trade.
Okay. So I can even look that up too. But
you'll remember this whole draft. I was like, Adam, there's a tight end, whether it's Kincaid or Laporta or any of those young tight ends. Like it was such a great year for it, such a turnover year at tight end. Every time I looked at values, I thought like tight end is good right here. And the ADP is 2 rounds later. Like Kincaid, I think is a good 3rd round pick.
Yes.
I mean, I'll say it in this format, and we got him at 512 to stack with Allen.
Yes.
So, thrilling. Goddard at 6'11", I remember as more of a let's just sort of push, because I had this whole tight end thing in my head. And like we offered Goddard to a couple of teams after taking him. But, they didn't want to. So I think we have a big lead at that position as well. And even toward the end, I wanted like the Musgraves and the Schoonmakers, those Brenton Strange. I don't know who we got, if there's anybody else. But
we got the Schoonmaker.
Oh,
we got
baby.
the Schoonmaker. Yeah. And so, I think we really did really well. I mean, the Allen to Kincaid stack can be a thing for the next 8 to 10 years, which would be so great in this format. And so I liked that we did that. And also, so we ended up with 2 firsts, a second, and 3 thirds next year.
Okay.
So that's why I wasn't too concerned. Going back to your original question, is I wasn't too concerned about being super young, because whatever we have issues with, we should be able to fill in with our 6 picks next year in the top 3 rounds. So and we won't need a quarterback because we've got 2 guys in Allen and Watson. I don't know if you want to talk about Watson at all in the Superflex. I thought that he was the last quarterback kind of in that tier of younger with elite upside, but not like if you go look, like the quarterbacks after him were
quarterback 10.
Right. QB 10. Love it. I mean, Kyler Murray, so Kyler Murray Dynasty, we don't even know if he's going to play this year. I mean, they might be in a position where they, between them and they have the Panthers. Who do they have?
Houston.
Between them and Houston, they might have the first 2 picks in next year's draft. So Kyler Murray, I mean, I know he's got the contract and all that. They could draft. They've done it before, right? They took Murray when they had a quarterback or a guy that they had taken early. So
Rosen.
Josh Rosen. Yeah. So they might be a mess there. They might not even play Murray this year, and it could be a debacle moving forward. So I like Watson over Murray. Stroud, who knows? Bryce Young, who knows? Dak could have been a guy between Dak and Watson. I would have gone Dak over any of those 3 quarterbacks. So I like what we did there. Are you kind of looking back on it? Are you okay with us going Watson as QB 10?
Yes. I mean, I think there are other good positions to go with. Like Garrett Wilson goes 7 picks later. Olave is another 7 picks after that. So I think you could do that, but this is what we wanted. Richardson, if anybody listening is wondering, had already gone QB 9 at 112. And really, I think the decision on which direction you go establishes itself really early in these things. You get the late pick and you see, if you can't make that trade, I think we were fortunate to make that trade. You see 7 quarterbacks go in the first 8 picks. This is a dynasty startup. And then Fields at 111. I mean, that's even fortunate. Maybe not everybody loves him. You can feel like kind of game's over for future at quarterback. Now I'm going to play for this year. I'm going to draft Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, guys like that, and try to accrue first if I can do at least whatever, one of those things. You really might end up feeling like you have to pivot right away in these sort of drafts. So fun to do. Lots of different formats. The tight end premium thing makes the FFPC one especially, maybe just different. where you really have to think about it. If you would, Adam, before we take our break, will you run down the roster for our listeners who aren't able to see the screen?
Absolutely. So first round we went Josh Allen. Second round we went Deshaun Watson. Fifth round, Dalton Kincaid. Sixth round, Ramondre Stevenson, who I love, who could, even if you don't like running backs early, he might have some trade value after a big year this year. Then Dallas Goedert in the sixth round. Then Christian Kirk in the eighth, Jonathan Mingo in the ninth, Mike Williams and Marvin Mims in the 10th. So very young receiving core. Roshan Johnson as our RB2 in the 11th. This is a hero RB build. Cedric Tillman.
What does that mean, hero RB?
It means Ramondre Stevenson is going to be our hero. He has to be our hero at running back. Rashad Penny and Tyler Algier in the 14th. Alec Pierce and Luke Schoonmaker in the 15th.
Sure.
Nico Collins in the 16th. McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So
that was your idea. That's a good idea. Draft 2, you're going to end up making cuts.
Yep. And we, we needed another running back, so we kind of picked 2. Hopefully, one ends up being a thing. It'll probably be McKinnon as a third down back. Edwards will probably be cut. And then Hunter Renfrow, who I'm going to be way overweight on this year, and especially in Dynasty, he could get traded. He'd go to a new team. And Ryan Tannehill in the 20th round is our QB3.
19-11 for Renfrow. He's young and good. The situation isn't great, but that could change on a dime. I mean, I think he's a nice player. All right, there it is. The Deep End Dynasty startup from the last few weeks here at FFPC. Mike Schopp and Adam Krautwurst, thanks for being with us tonight in the Deep End. We're about to dig into the player profiler rankings and call out what we don't agree with. But first, a word from our sponsor.
You know, people always ask me, hey, what is the World Series of fantasy or the Super Bowl of fantasy football? And it's easy. It's the FFPC, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. It's a $6 million prize pool. And they've had their Never Too Early Best Ball Leagues cranking since February. And so the FFPC is the answer to so many questions. Hey, where's the best place to get a Dynasty Orphan? Well, you can adopt a Dynasty Orphan at the FFPC. That's why we partner with them. If you want to play fantasy football for low, medium, high stakes, seasonal, best ball, dynasty, go to the FFPC. And don't forget, promo code UNDERWORLD to get you $25 off your first team. $25 off your first team, no matter what team it is, no matter what format it is, at the FFPC. Go do it.
Look at that hat. It's incredible. This is the Deep End.
What do you think?
I love it.
This is the definition of a flat brim.
Yes.
So my son would love it. I want to just like instinctively.
No. You can't do that. You got to wear that to the Scott Fish Bowl here in Buffalo.
Why not wear the hat? Right. Why not wear the hat tonight for a little bit?
I like it.
All right. So just want to give some and share some sort of observations about what the Dynasty rankings look like. You know, we can talk trades and, certain player takes along the way. We'll see what comes. Starting at quarterback from playerprofiler.com. We hope you subscribe. Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Lawrence, Jackson, Fields. The top 8. Anything about that order that bothers you?
I would definitely take Allen over Hurts. And here's why. So like Hurts might have. First of all, Josh Allen would have been the QB1 every year for the last 3 years had they played their final game of the year. I think he was like a couple of points short of Patrick Mahomes. He would have been the number 1 quarterback for 3 straight years. Insane. Absolutely insane. And he doesn't have, Mahomes obviously didn't have Tyreek last year, but he had an all-time great mismatch in Kelsey. You could argue Mahomes. I won't even argue against Mahomes as the number 1. But Allen should be number 2. Hurts will never, ever, ever again after this year have the weapons that he's had the last 2 years. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, elite offensive line. Eventually, the people need to get paid and all that type of stuff. It just doesn't happen. Allen, out of the elite quarterbacks, Burrow, Hurts, Mahomes, Herbert, even now with Lamar Jackson, not before, but you couldn't ask for worse. Like he has Diggs, and that's it. Kincaid could get awesome. What I'm saying is he's a buy low now with the weapons around him. In Dynasty, when you look at the quarterback position, hey, what does the team look like around them? So he's been the number one QB with below average overall weapons compared to all the other elite quarterbacks. They could easily upgrade at different positions there. If they had DeAndre Hopkins or if they had another receiver next year, like now the sky's the limit for Allen. So I would have Allen's my QB2, but the rest of the stuff I'm okay with.
Where's Anthony Richardson?
Ooh.
Too much on spec?
12. Yep. 12.
Fields is 2 years into his career. His first year, he didn't play so much. He did get on the field and really wowed with his legs. And then last year, something I just hate for these young quarterbacks, Sam Darnold has kind of busted. He's on his third team already, just did not get the stability that you need. I'm somebody in Buffalo who thought Allen was also not drafted into that, but the Bills did establish that. Like he got there, and Sean McDermott has always been his coach, whereas Darnold had a different Todd Bowles, to Gase, right? And just changes and changes and changes. That worries me for Fields. Fields is already on his second, and he's got to get there this year for the fifth-year extension and the commitment, like the Bears, coming off the worst record in the NFL. I'm a little bit scared for him. I'd rather have Richardson. In fact, I like Fields. You got to love his talent. I thought the Bears would have been better off trading him.
Yes.
And keeping the 101 and drafting a Richardson or someone else in that spot. And then, also getting whatever else they would have gotten in that trade. So Fields, while I have plenty of him in different formats, it's just a little bit. I think you could be in a league where somebody is really excited about him, and if you're not, find out.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think the range of outcomes for Fields is so large. I mean, what you're hoping for if you have Fields or targeting him is that he has a situation like a Jalen Hurts, where 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts, what are they even going to do with him? Should they trade him? Should they keep him? And then Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert was already there, elite offensive line. Like they added all these weapons, and he exploded. That's what you got to hope for with Justin Fields. They started with DJ Moore, but even after that, it's like you just don't know. They need to do much, much more. So if Fields shows something this year and then they progress and they get some more weapons, fine. But I think you're saying, there's just too many question marks. Like I would take Prescott and Deshaun Watson and Anthony Richardson over Fields and Kyler Murray. So I listen, in a SuperFlex Dynasty, and I guess it really depends on how much you're playing for. That first round pick, you can't have question marks about the future of your dynasty team for 10 years. Like you got a guy that and that's why it's so cool to take a quarterback, because generally like the good quarterbacks, you just take them and you set them and you forget about it for 8 years. I couldn't do it with Justin Fields.
In one 14-team SuperFlex league, I've mentioned on the show, like it's been frustrating because combination undersold the value of quarterbacks in that startup draft, and the timing was the absolute worst for having the Allen crowd sort of arrive and smash and like, okay, well, I guess I'm stuck forever. But I had an offer for Trey Lance and 2 1s for Hurts. And I broke my wrist reaching for the accept button. I was so fast. I sort of not broke, but dislocated where it comes out of joint. Like, oh my God, the answer to my prayers,
Yep.
So
yep. Beautiful.
It is really tough. Scott Connor was on our Deep End podcast once in the past. And I just remember Scott, it still sticks with me. I was thinking about it today. Like you do what you have to do to get to one of those guys.
Yes.
And then you figure the rest out. And that still seems right a year or two later with the quarterback, talent. Anybody else quickly, anywhere on the list you want to mention that you sort of find yourself drafting or trading for or just or dumping? You mentioned Tua earlier. I'll go first. Tua for me is a buy.
Okay.
I want to believe that, his head injuries, and this is a serious subject, are probably really bad for him in life as he grows older. I don't think with as much as is at stake in the NFL and the way he's talking, and he's still 25 years old, and he was super efficient, and he's loaded with coach and weapons. I feel like there are enough people who are worried, like, is he going to make it to week 4, that I will take that chance. I think he's good enough. The situation's good enough. Win now, absolutely. And we'll see what happens. I mean, no kidding. I mean, hopefully his health stays good, because that's really scary. It was scary to watch him last year in the Buffalo game, the Cincy game. But I think there are enough people who are sort of worried about him that, okay, trade him to me.
Yeah, and I would be one of those guys who would trade him too.
Checking Empire Niagara rosters as we speak, as you speak.
As I speak. Yeah, I'm out on him. I mean, I'm probably out on him in redraft because of the concussion issues. So I'm certainly out on him in Dynasty, especially because he's still going in like the second, third round as a quarterback in SuperFlex draft. So it's nothing against his talent, the talent around him. But again, he's another quarterback that you couldn't ask for better talent around him right now. Tyreek's talking about retiring like after next year, not this upcoming
2 years,
maybe the year after. Yeah. So, and Waddle's going to want to get paid and all that stuff. So like, I would rather be out on the concussion second round pick issues, but if you can get him for cheap, like if you can get him from a guy like me who maybe has me, can trade for him for cheap, but I wouldn't spend my second round pick on Tua. If I can't go, kind of to your question earlier, that didn't stand out to me. If I weren't able to land, like just people weren't giving up those top picks, and I had pick 12 or something like that, and I couldn't get one of those quarterbacks, I would be okay waiting a little bit and then just loading up on a couple of them, like going back to back. Or Cousins is older, 34. He might have a couple years left, but he's got good weapons around him. Geno Smith, 32, but even in quarterback years now, Russell Wilson's to 34. If you were able to get like those 3 guys or something to add to like some weapons that you already had assembled in like the first 2 rounds, I like that. Kind of a long shot is like a guy like Jordan Love, right? Young guy. We don't see what he can do yet, and you can get him later on as well, like the fifth round or so, to really figure out like, hey, if you take a flyer on it. See, that's the thing. You take a flyer on a guy like who were we talking about earlier? CJ Stroud. That's a second round pick. You got to use on CJ Stroud, and he might be better than Jordan Love, but we don't know. And I'd rather spend a 5th round pick on Jordan Love, who's been sitting around for a couple of years waiting for his chance. So that's kind of my take on it.
Let me test something on you with respect to Jordan Love, because he is somebody I have a strong opinion about. Do you feel like that's a good organization, Green Bay?
Yes.
Not just a beneficiary of having Favre and Rodgers. Like maybe they're a little bit sharp. I mean, the drafting has been weird, so I'm not sure, but I kind of think they are.
Yeah.
They have had him in their system for 3 years. There was no way. Did I do this last time? There was no way he's moving in for Aaron Rodgers ever.
Right.
They're not taking Aaron Rodgers out, no matter what his politics are, no matter what he thinks of the GM. So there's no, in my opinion, evidence on Love from that Rodgers stayed in, even in a losing season last year. All right. Good organization. His not breaking through in 3 years, not relevant. And here's Green Bay, that coach and that GM, in a moment where everybody is watching to see what they can get done without him, without Rodgers. Do they make any move for anyone else to be a safety net in case Love flops? Garoppolo, Tannehill, anybody available, that Minshew even, like just in case this doesn't go well, because we're a little bit just want to play it safe. They do not.
Yeah.
They think he's good. He's a first-round pick who's been on the bench for 3 years. He's an athlete. I'm buying him. I feel like Jordan Love is one of the best deals in sports right now.
And you heard it here first, folks. On the deep end.
That might be true, because I never hear anybody say it. So that's why I went sort of slow. And
yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And those are all beautiful narratives that all make sense. And so
people love Watson too, Adam.
Yes. And that's what I took Watson in a serious Experts Draft, Sirius XM Radio Experts Draft at the FSGA, and I had to talk about Jordan Love, and I certainly didn't do it as well as you did, but mine was basically like, hey, if Jordan Love is good, Christian Watson's going to be really, really good. Like, think about Geno Smith. Geno Smith stinks. Well, all of a sudden he doesn't stink. Look what happened to the offense. Everybody was awesome. So if he can be Geno Smith, right, like that would be amazing for Christian Watson. And like we were saying before, Love is super cheap right now.
24.6 years old. By the way,
Yeah.
Richardson, more than 3 years younger than Fields. Love and Fields at the same age. All
Wow.
right. Running back, click on it as we look at the player profiler rankings, scroll down. Does anybody sort of think of the press your luck buzzer? Like, as you go down the list, who's somebody you want to hit the buzzer and talk about? Is that a dated reference? Do you know press your luck?
No, I don't know any.
You don't? Oh my gosh. Hosted by Olean's the late Peter Tamarkin. No whammies? Come on, no whammies?
Oh, I've heard of no whammies.
Okay.
I don't know. I've heard of you can't triple stamp a double stamp. Is that the same thing?
No.
Okay. I think it's Dumb and Dumber. We talked about Ramondre for a split second. I think he's only 25, has a, not a lot of carries on his body either. Like age doesn't have a lot to do with it. A lot of times with running backs, it's how many carries and touches that you've had. Rashad White seems a little high to me. Again, they've have him ranked 13th out of running backs for Dynasty over here at Player Profiler. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot unproven there. He could be, great this year. He's going at a great value. And again, you don't necessarily have to draft him here as a 13th running back, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot like, DeAndre Swift probably, DeAndre Swift's 24, White's they're like the same age. Like, Swift might be in the same situation because Rashad White might have the backfield to himself, but I don't know if that's the state of the running back situation in Dynasty, like count me out if Rashad White is the 13th running back.
Transition time. Elliott, Fournette, Hunt, maybe Cook, maybe Mixon leaving the stage. Yes. Rookies coming in. I like Rashad White because now teams do a lot of stupid things, but if I were the Bucs, I wouldn't care if I added anybody else. I'd feel no pressure to sign some veteran to cut into him. I really don't even care if he's good. Let's find out. Let's give him 20 touches a game and see what happens. So I kind of like that too. But if I felt the Bucs were sharp and, I wasn't going to worry about them signing somebody, then I would be drafting him all the time. But often teams are not that sharp. I'm a little worried for Pollard based on his price, especially in best ball, but dynasty wise, 26 is not the youngest. By next year, he'll be on the older end of the scale, the spectrum there for age. And I still think Dallas, it's Jerry Jones. I still think Dallas will do something else. Tampa has no incentive to do that. If they're smart, they will know that. It'll be Rashad White and Sean Tucker and Chase Edmonds and Keyshawn Vaughn, like whatever. Dallas is Dallas. They're like the third choice in the NFC. Maybe it's Zeke back. I've been sort of thinking that way. Maybe somehow it's Cook because there's more of a splash there. I think they can still use Pollard in a way where he's interesting, but he goes as like running back 5 in some of these best ball drafts, and I am just out. Like that is just, to me, wait to see what happens. It's still early in the offseason. So Dynasty fine. Everybody, the thing about him is like every fantasy analyst, mostly like the PFF, sort of the people who see ourselves as sharp, all have always loved him. And like, here's our moment. Now the stage is right open to us to do our routine. And I don't know, it's still the Cowboys. It's still Mike McCarthy. Why would we think they're going to lean on Tony Pollard? I mean, he's good. The offense probably is good, but I don't know.
Yeah, the dynasty thing's a little different. 26. Now, again, he doesn't have the carries of a normal 26-year-old, but like you said,
that's right.
Like you said, it's what are they going to do? Then that's the whole thing with these running backs, right? Pollard, Rashad White. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to re-sign? Does Zeke go back to Dallas? Does Zeke go to Tampa? Like, we just don't know. Like Rashad White, if we get into like, if Zeke goes somewhere and Fournette goes somewhere and we get into like, okay, there's no like big time veterans left, I will be all in on Rashad White in redraft and in dynasty. But until I see that, I'm going to wait it out a little bit. By then, dynasty drafts will probably be over. But ETN is another guy that I don't really think, and there's even a down arrow here on the player profiler. I just think Walker is really, really, really good. And I think that ETN just isn't that good. That, there's always been stuff coming out about, they're showing the film and how he doesn't catch well downfield, doesn't run good routes downfield, doesn't know where to put his hands, looks confused, between the difference between that and a swing. Like, he's not an actual route runner. He's a swing pass catcher, and they don't even throw him the ball a lot, and then they drafted a running back in this draft that they really like, whose name Bigsby. Thank you. Whose name is, and so that's a situation where, again, man, this is where I find just the RB dead zone in Dynasty to me is just so big. And it's like, if I can't get Bijan, I think Bijan is so head and shoulders above everybody else, and maybe even like Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, I love that they have him ranked 4th here, but I might move him up a little bit higher. I mean, Breece Hall's coming off the injury, but just the young guys who are in these really good, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is going to be in a really good offense, but Bijan, he's still young enough where they're a quarterback away from being an elite offense, right? They might be a team that goes out. And again, Dynasty, you have to use a lot of narrative street to figure out the future of your team. Like, they have Drakeland, who's awesome, Kyle Pitts, who's awesome, Bijan Robinson, who's awesome. If they can just get one of these, like a veteran quarterback next year that maybe is coming off a, whatever, disgruntled, whatever, like, they'll be elite. Bijan's elite. So it's like those guys, I feel like, are so much better than these guys in the 15th. I mean, Chubb's old. Chubb's great, but he's old. There's just so many question marks between age or offense or whatever. Like, get me out of here. Give me one elite one, and then I'll dumpster dive.
Dameon Pierce at 23 with a new quarterback, kind of a new regime, not the GM, but just sort of new vibe with Houston.
Yeah.
I can't quit him. I think he is good. I think they'll get better. And so young, 1 year into the league. I don't care about the draft capital. For me, the lean is absolutely yes on Dameon Pierce. Kendre Miller. So I looked at Underdog. This is not a dynasty point. I looked at Underdog yesterday for exposure. He was my number 1 running back. I did not feel good about it. Like, there's still a few dominoes that have to fall the right way with the Kamara's possible suspension, and Jamal Williams is there. That, okay, well, Kendre Miller, but good enough prospect. That's a rookie that, in terms of dynasty, can be more win now, perhaps, than other rookies. Like, there's an opening there for Miller, I think. Keep going.
Yeah, no, and this is where I like to hit these later, the Charbonnet types. Again, I love Kenneth Walker, but like these one injury away guys, Charbonnet, Roshan Johnson might just straight up win the job in Chicago. A-Chain is the best running back in Miami right now. Cook might shine. Cook was really good last year for the Bills. He didn't get the ball a lot. Singletary was there. Singletary's gone. He might be the guy there now. Getting 2 or 3 or 4 of these guys. Madison's rising up the board. He's 25, but again, doesn't have the touches that a 25-year-old has. Give me 3 or 4 or 5 of these guys in here. The Tanks, Bigsby's, and so take a shot on youth because the turnover every year is crazy at the running back position.
I think we should wait on receiver and tight end for next week.
Fine.
It's not dynasty week though. It's controversial.
It's controversial. Listen, doesn't mean we can't do another dynasty episode next week.
Well, we have some exciting things coming up. We're going to do some drafts, a Best Ball Live FFPC draft with Brad Stalder. We have Pat Corrane coming up as well. But I'd like to get back to that chart. I just think we can't do it justice with the time we have left.
Yep.
Adam, how do we follow you and get to know you?
Whoa.
Flag football draft.
Flag football. Big flag football guy. That's right. Big flag. But wheeling and dealing all day. I got to get out of here. I got some trades I got to make.
How did that one trade go?
Fine. It went fine. We're gonna get what we want. We're gonna get what we want. A nice offensive lineman,
Sound confident.
Skill guy. But
this is, hey, can I say something? You guys, this is crazy. Like, I'm very rarely impressed in life anymore. But driving back from Canton, as Adam is in a flag football league with friends and other people, they literally trade each other and draft each other. Like it's a combination of real football and fantasy. And he's actually on the phone with a guy as we're driving, hands-free, where he's talking about what to offer to get, this guy and that guy, like real people.
The real people.
Just much respect.
I'm trying to get the league to go to to video the draft live so that everyone can find out where they got drafted. They're just being uproar.
You need a Roger Goodell, though. You need somebody
right.
the bro hugs and the dragging out. So
that could be you. That could
maybe
be you.
Maybe me. Pete Rozelle was so much better at it than Goodell because Rozelle would say the position first, quarterback.
Okay.
He sort of had a nasal quarterback, and then you'd wait, like, who was he going to say? Yeah. But Goodell says the name first, which is not as good.
Unless it's Josh Allen or Josh Rosen, then you're on the edge of your seat. Then you don't know what's
say the first name first, and then talk for a few minutes about concussion protocol and different things, league initiatives, and then the last name, so that that's really dragging it out.
But yes, you can find me at Adam_Krautwurst. You can find us at the Deep End, obviously, and
Deep End FF1.
Deep End FF1, and we're going to be doing so many drafts. I can't wait. We're gonna have more and more guests on, more events that we're going to do that we'll be announcing soon. And this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. We're almost in the thick of it.
Almost.
Okay.
Well, thanks for watching us on YouTube or listening, iTunes, Spotify. I'm Mike Schopp at Schopp Talk, SCHOPPTALK. Thanks, and hi, how are you to everybody we saw in Cleveland this week. It was really fun. Back on Tuesday with the next episode of The Deep End, brought to you by the Player Profiler Network. Thanks for being with us tonight.
See you guys.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.